Well, hello, educator friends, and welcome to the School Life series. I'm your host, Ross Braun, and I am so glad that you're here today. If this isn't your first time listening, you are a veteran to the School Life series, then go grab a drink or skip ahead in the next 60 seconds because you know what it's all about. But if this is your first time tuning in, I want to give you a little introduction about what the School Life series is. So this is a podcast that was created for educators all across the country. You know, the people that are doing the real work in schools each and every day. So each episode features real educators with real stories, real strategies that are designed to help you not only survive the work, but also stay connected and remind you why you became an educator in the first place. So, on each episode, we will also bring in just absolute rock stars from all over the country who are specialists, experts in certain topics. They're going to give you fresh strategies, they're going to give you brand new ideas, and sometimes just a new perspective, allowing you to grow both in your profession and as a human so you can become the best teacher, leader, and educator that you possibly can be. Season 4 is all about sustaining educators, strengthening our schools, and staying human in this profession. So I'm so excited that you decided to tune in. Let's kick it off. Well, hello, educator friends, and we are continuing right into season 4 of the School Life series with just another absolute rock star of an educator. I'm so excited to have this guy today as a guest. He's definitely one that I've had on my list for years now to join on this podcast, and I cannot wait to learn from him, and I know you're going to learn so much. So here we go. Let me just give you a little insight here of how special it is to have this guy on the School Life series. Jonathan Alsheimer, simply put, is what this show is all about. You know, I say it time and time again that we are looking for great educators, but even better human beings, and that's him. If I would simply put, that's who this guy is. And so Jonathan is a proud, just like me, forever educator, regardless of what role he is in. And I think he's seen his educational journey just transform right before his own eyes, in probably ways that he never thought could imagine. He's truly, no pun intended here, a next level educator, teacher, speaker, leader, author. And when he's not traveling across the country, impacting thousands and teachers and hundreds of thousands of students, he's right where he loves to be, and that's home as a girl dad and a husband to an educator. And so thank you, Jonathan. I know that was long, but man, you deserve it. Thank you for joining me today. I can't wait for this.
Man, I'm so fired up to be here today, dude. I appreciate the opportunity. And I
Yep.
will always say this, brother. Anytime is a good time to talk education, especially with people that love this work. And man,
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I'm so excited for this. So before we dive into education heavily, I gave a little bit insight, but I just like to kind of connect on a personal level. I think it's so important for educators to know that we are humans, just like they are humans, and they need to show their students that they are humans. And so tell us a little bit about the human side. Who are you?
yeah, man, 16 years deep in the game of education, girl dad, try to be the best
Yeah.
girl dad and husband I can be. I live outside of DC, brother. And I just love this work, man. The quick Wikipedia version is I taught high school, taught middle school. I jokingly say I subbed one day in elementary school, kindergarten PE, got scared and ran. My mama was like, "Hey, it's easy money. You should try this." I was like, "This is the only time I ever told my mama she's a liar, man." I walked out, never doing that again. So shout out to all my elementary ed
Yeah.
teachers out there. My wife's an elementary ed teacher, and I just love this work so much. Done leadership stuff, done all the things, and I just can't get enough of it. So I appreciate, like I said, man, I appreciate the time to be on here. I've written 2 best-selling books. I've done work with the UFC. I brought a UFC fighter into my school. I've worked with MTV celebrities. Y'all remember the old school TV show Robin Big? We all do. Everybody listens
You
like,
know we do.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. I was just talking to I was speaking at a conference just the other day and I said that and they're like, yes. And one of the dudes on the show, I did work with him, Drama, that's Rob Dyrdek's cousin.
Okay.
As you know, we both met Mario Lopez this last summer. I got to
Yes.
do
That's
some
awesome.
jujitsu with
That's
the AC Slater. Yes, he looks as good as all the ladies are wondering. And
yeah. Right.
yeah, he choked me out. So it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so you and I have connected for a few years now, a couple of different conferences, but we're both proud to be in the Get Your Teach On network. And we're at Nationals last year, and we're going to be back at Nationals this year in Orlando in July. Just 6,500
Shout out to Hope and
educators.
Wade. Let's go.
Yeah, two of the best in the business, man. Again, great educators, but even better humans that just, are in it for the right reasons. So, thank you for sharing who you are to our listeners. I'm sure they have an idea, but maybe you taught them something about who you are here. And so, as we talk more about just your journey, one of the questions I always like to ask is, who was your biggest influence in your educational journey?
That's the easy one, man. It's going to sound a little bit cliche, but it was my children.
Cool.
I openly will say this, and I'm telling you right now, any educator listen to that, they're like, "Oh yeah, your kids." Well, here's the truth, because when I became a father, like I always thought I was a good teacher, and when I became a dad, it completely changed my philosophy on education, my motivation on it, my passion for it, because I saw the kids as kids, but like for me, it was still just a job. I like the kids. I cared for the kids. I'd go as far as say, like, I love these kids. Like that's like we all say it, right? But then when you have your own kids, and then you start to look at life through their eyes, and like you just want them to have a friend at school, or you just want them to have a teacher that sees them for who they are and pushes them to where they need to go, but also to their path, whatever that path is. You want them to instill confidence and love into your kids. And when you experience that as a parent, then you fully know, and at least that was for me, I fully
Yeah.
knew at that point what my goal as a teacher was. I need to help be the voice for the kids, whether they have support at home or don't, and I
Hmm.
want to be the person that makes school fun so that when they go home, they tell their parents. That takes so much stress off the parents and the families.
Yeah.
Like when a kid comes home, your kids come home, man, they're like, I love school. Like you're just like, thank you, God.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I want to be that for my students. And I always say this is one of my catchphrases, excuse me, is teach like it's your kid in the front row. Every single kid is your kid. Front row, back row, side row, the kid that you don't teach and the kid that you do teach. You would never let your child pass you in the hallway and feel like a ghost. You make every
Yes.
single moment count, and it takes every single person in their own unique way to do that.
Yeah. I love that. You stole it because I was going to say it. Every time I hear you speak, you say that. And every time I hear it, it gives me little chills and it just sticks out to me like, yes, every teacher in America needs to understand that whether you're a parent or not, you got to teach like it is. Even if you're not a parent, it's your niece, your nephew, your best friend's child, whoever it may be that you love the most is sitting in that seat and they're sitting in the second seat, the third row, the fourth row. And we had that mindset of, we're all in for these kids, then the rest is history. And so
That's right.
I love that you share that message across the country because it needs to be heard. And I think a lot of times we hear it. I had Danny Steele on the first episode. He talked about that passion drift. Like when we go in our first year's education, a lot of times we have that type of fire in us, but at some point, we may lose it, not intentionally, but just because we've been doing it for so long, we get into to that squeaky wheel. And we need that reminder. And you are a great reminder of what we're doing. My next question for you, as we talk about your journey, like me, you started out in education and you just want to be classroom teacher, doing your thing with 20 students. And then you blink twice and boom, right? Things just blew up and you're here. And so was there a moment like in your journey that you can say like, that really changed everything for me?
In terms of like going into the speaking and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff,
Yeah,
or
like
is that
just
what
your
you're talking about?
impact. Yeah, like
Yeah, man.
impact.
So yeah, great question. So for me, I could actually articulate the exact moment, but I always felt like I was a very unique soul in teaching. I am the type of person who's high energy, but I don't like the chaos unless I cause it. I like
Yeah, yeah,
peace. I like peaceful stuff and all that. So, my classroom's a nice mesh of totally jazz music and chilling out, and like I'm very Bob Marley, but at the same time it's straight lovely chaos. And there was a moment many years ago where I was teaching. I was working for a principal named Hamish Brewer. He's the relentless skateboarding tattoo principal. Everybody knows him. And we had a couple documentaries about our school. And one particular year, we had another speaker who runs a monster conference down in Orlando. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be the keynote speaker there this year, Jostens Renaissance Conference, June 14th to 16th in Orlando. And this dude, PC, he comes up. I didn't know who he was. He shows up at my door. He's got I think he had a Braves jersey on and a bandana tied around his head. That's
Yeah,
kind of his
that's his
thing.
look. Yeah.
Yes, and he walks in with Hamish, and we had people visit all the time, bro. It wasn't new. Superintendents, everybody's coming in, parents coming in. You just keep rolling. And I'm standing on top of a chair, like over a desk, and we're just getting after it. That's all I remember. And then they called me out into the hallway after they watched the chaos, and he said, "Dude, you got to start sharing this with other educators. You got to start sharing this stuff." So really quickly into that, I jumped into it, and that was the moment that made me think, "Oh, hey, well, like if I never even thought of it. I literally never thought of it. I just love doing what I do."
Yeah.
And so when I go around and I share and I speak and I do workshops, like that's it. Like I'm authentically me. I share what I do, take it or leave it. But my goal is for you to walk away with a bunch of activities and ideas that make life better in the classroom and boost student engagement. And until the wheels fall off, I'm gonna keep rolling, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah. Man, I love that. That's what a full circle moment now. You're keynoting the Jostens
Yes.
conference,
Yes, the
it
first
all
breakout
started.
I ever did. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was 2019 in Orlando, and now I'm back as the headliner, brother.
It's so cool. Yeah, I can relate to that. Todd Nessaloni, shout out to Todd. He same thing.
Yeah, good
I can
man.
remember the exact same conversation that I had with him in regards to like, dude, your social media is like non-existent. Why is that? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just doing my thing. He's like, well, what you're doing here as a principal is not normal. You need to start sharing it. I'm like, oh, that's just not my style. That's not who I am. He's like, no, other people need to learn from you. And that was a moment like, okay, you know what? I am going to start sharing my story and not for likes or clicks, but because I want to make an impact on kids and I want other leaders to do this stuff too. So
Yes, there's
cool.
somebody else out there's other people out there, man, that just they vibe with everybody's got someone that connects with them, just like every teacher's got students that connect with them, and it
Yeah.
takes no teacher's gonna get them all. It takes every different variety, and it takes all of us to kinda like we need to live and breathe this life together because this is the hardest work there is, period.
Yeah.
Leadership, teaching, all things education. And so it's a blessing when you meet great people who have other great ideas that the greatest teachers, just like the greatest leaders, steal ideas from other people. And we get to be some of those offerings, right? Here's some ideas,
Yeah.
take them or leave them,
Here it
man.
is. That's it. Love it. So let's add a little humor into the episode now. This is a question that I always am excited to hear the answers. So education is full of those moments that, people outside of education just are like, no way. And so is there a moment in your career that you look back on and you're like, you would not believe this actually happened to me?
Yeah, dude, I used to have a video of it. I think I deleted it at this point, but there was a time. All right, so I got two kids who I still stay in contact with. One, he goes to VCU. Wonderful, wonderful kids. One's in college playing soccer, and there was two kids who were telling me they were great kids, worked hard, all the things. And we were getting ready for a test, but we had just finished the test. We were about to start the next unit, and they loved competition as much as I did.
Mhm.
And this is late in the year, man, and this is us just getting after it. We're about to start this new unit, and they go, "Mr. Alsheimer." They knew how I love to make friendly wagers in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Mr. Alsheimer, I bet we could both ace your next test without even you teaching us anything. Just give us the study guide and give us one day." And I was like, "All right." And they're
I'll
like,
take it.
so I said, if you don't win, and then there was something they had to do. I said, you gotta eat a spoonful of mayonnaise because it's awful. I've only done it one time. And they go, all right, well, if we win and we both get 90s or above, you gotta do the same thing. Sure enough, the next day they took the test. They both got 90s and above.
They
And I
did
was
it.
like, no chance am I doing this. Out of nowhere, my principal rolls up with a bunch of other people that heard about this great story. And it was my last block of the day. They roll in during dismissal. They hand me a spoonful of mayo and I'm on camera. So now you got to do it.
You got to
I
do it.
ate that and I wanted to vomit. I had a garbage can right
Gosh,
there, but the kids were going crazy. We were blasting mute. It was awful. It was
that's
awful.
awesome. You know what I love about that story? Like, obviously it's funny. You wouldn't believe it, but you're not going to ever forget it.
Kids won't either, man.
The 25, 30 students you had in that classroom will never forget
Yeah,
that moment for the rest of their life. So,
that's true.
so cool. Well, let's, all right. Last question here in the opening, a little bit more serious note, but you already said it. Education is the hardest profession out there. What is something about education that you wish that more people understood?
That's an awesome question, man. I think for this is like my biggest thing is I wish that, all right, I'm going to give you two pieces here. I wish that in education, the folks that are outside of this profession understood the gravity of the work that we do in terms of everything they think it's just like you babysit some kids or you teach some stuff, get them to pass the test, move on. But there's two things here. The gravity of it is everything, there's no off days in education. Everything that we do say and don't say, or the look that we do give or don't give, and the way that we give it can impact and be an imprint on a kid's heart for the rest of their life. I mean, every single person listening to this podcast, myself and you included, can remember a time where someone in the school building said something that we remember that drew us in because it was awesome. We remember that moment, but we can also remember that moment that scarred us. I remember I had a teacher
Yeah.
one time that basically told me I was stupid and wouldn't amount to anything in life. Like, what is that? What do you think that does to somebody? You
Yep.
know, and I was
Absolutely.
one of the nicest kids you've ever met. I just wasn't good in school because I
Yeah.
couldn't pass a test. You know, it took a long time for
Yeah.
me. And so I wish people that were outside of the profession understood that, number one. So there's the pressure there, but also understand this, man. Like, teaching kids is like the last thing we get to do. There is a
Yeah.
laundry list of stuff. It's like a job before a job. And then there's a
Yes.
job after the job because you got to
Yeah.
check in on kids. There's a laundry list of stuff teachers got to deal with. And it's getting tougher because we got to combat the technology stuff that kids love and we don't have much of
Mhm.
it. We got to deal with the lack of money. We got to deal with the fact that kids are used to playing games all day and now we got to get them to read a book. Like, we also, in addition to that, we got to deal with all the behavior stuff and all of the things that go along with that. You talked about 20 kids, man. I think every time I ever taught a class, it was usually like 32. And
Yeah.
I had kids that were like the most gifted kids that you've ever met. It's probably smarter than me, with sprinkled in with every version of student you can imagine, to kids who couldn't
Mhm.
read or couldn't speak the language all together. And you want me to get them to pass a state test and to make it engaging and to take care of the behavior with a kid who hears every word at home said from his parents or this or
Mhm.
that. Like, me just giving you the answer to the listener is probably exhausting.
Yes.
So, to the folks that don't do this work, imagine how exhausting this is. Why do you think everybody's going to start dropping mics everywhere? Ready for this? Why do you think when kids go back to school after Christmas break or when summer is done, parents are like, yes,
Yeah.
y'all can't handle your
Yes.
one. Y'all can't handle y'all's one kid. You want us to handle 35 or 40 of them. If you're a PE teacher, 40,000 of them. Come on. Like,
And your child's the easiest one in my classroom.
that's what I'm saying, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
That's great stuff. I worked with teachers here in Indiana this week, and we talked about, like, all of these things are working against us, but we got a job to do.
Yeah,
How do we make the most of what we have here, even though everything's being thrown at us? So, great answer, man.
to your point to that, let me just add in this piece because you just kinda set me up with an alley-oop, so I'm gonna be like Kobe
All
and
right,
dunk this thing,
there you go.
is that there's so many things that we have to do, but as the educator, here's the truth. The only thing that really matters, speaking from the heart of a dad of 2 little girls, when my girls come to your classroom, do they feel like you love them? And are you putting them in a situation where they're enjoying the learning process? If that's what you're doing, awesome. And we're not going to be perfect at it. We're going to make a million mistakes. But you know what? Kids can tell those that are putting in the work in the right way. All the other stuff, I always say, like, the world could be burning down my classroom. The world could be burning down around my classroom, but I can control what's going on in that classroom. And that's the only
That's it.
thing I care about.
That's it. Love it, man. That's a great answer, and it leads right into today's topic, which is your jam, school engagement. So you are the champion for student engagement. Obviously, you got your book all about classroom engagement, and you just live this out each and every day in your life with your own family. And I think everyone can feel it already. So, in your terms, tell us what student engagement really is.
You know, that's the thing, dudes. Think about student engagement like this. Engagement is broken down into two pieces: instructional and relational. And ultimately, as classroom teachers, the reason why I wrote the book School of Engagement was because even as a teacher, a veteran teacher who prides himself on engagement and engaging lessons and activities, I always feel like that no matter what, I'm going to run out. Like, I need more tools to help me. I need more ideas, and that's where, like, social media is awesome, but like, why aren't we stealing ideas from each other? And so, for me, the engagement piece that's relational is in the classroom. Let's start using relationship building activities and ways to bring kids in. Like, for example, head, shoulders, knees, color, or human bingo, or slap happy, or the Tower of Terror cup thing. And as I'm saying this, everybody's like, what the heck? Listen, go to my Instagram at Mr. Alsheimer, steal whatever you want, take them
Yeah,
all
it's
and
there.
share them. And if you're not sharing them with your staff or sending them out to your friends, like, you're only hurting yourself, because in addition to that, engagement's also instructional. And how are you getting kids excited about reading? And a lot of people are like, well, kids hate reading. Yeah, they do. I hate reading. As an adult, I hate reading. I don't even want to read my own book and I wrote it. I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
what I will tell you, all jokes aside, is that when you gamify reading or you gamify the math, then everybody wants to do it. And if we can do that or use AI as a way to, all right, we're going to make these AI images using Canva or ChatGPT or whatever platform. All of a sudden now we're going to bring the content to life in a way that's manageable for the kids.
Mhm.
Ooh, man, now you're talking their jam. And it's just simple tweaks. It's not fancy. I don't have time for fancy. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
I might at one point I was a baseball coach, a basketball coach. I don't have time to spend 2 hours or to steal something off it. I don't know. I don't have enough money to do teachers pay teachers, right? I need something easy that I can use now.
Yeah.
And so the goal is sharing strategies, looking at those strategies. How can I steal that and modify it for my kids in a way that fits their needs and their grade and my content?
That's great. That's perfect, and connects with them, you know? So, and the question I want to add into, because you just mentioned AI technology too, and stealing, like it's out there. Other teachers have it, but also we have to embrace the technology that's in front of us and model it to our students on how to use it the right way. For example, this past week when I was working with teachers, I had an activity that I normally do, but I had to switch it up due to the space we were in and the number of people, and I was stumped. So what did I do? I went to ChatGPT and I said, "Here's my situation. How can I adapt this for this?" And then ChatGPT listed all kinds of ways that I could change that up. It took me maybe 10 minutes to figure that out and work through it and go on to the next thing instead of sitting around for hours trying to recreate the wheel.
Dude, the thing that funny part about what you just said, and I actually have my book right here, so I always have it next to me to steal my own ideas and change them. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna share something I do. So in my book, School of Engagement, every single lesson has something called the activity overview. And so, for example, what I'll do, and I in the book it says to do this, and then on my Instagram I also share to do this. Copy and paste or type in the 3 sentence activity overview. Or if I saw something on TikTok or on Instagram, oh, I really like that idea. They kind of did this, this, and this. And I start typing into ChatGPT. And I say, now modify that for third grade math where we're doing fractions. Bang. Now you have whatever you need. No, oh, modify again because I want kids up and moving. And ChatGPT or whatever AI platform you use that's like ChatGPT, now your ability to get kids engaged is almost infinite at this point.
Yeah. I love that.
It's
Love
working
that answer.
smarter, not harder, right?
It is. That's it. That's what it's all about. And simplifying. And, the conversation I have a lot with technology and ChatGPT and AI and everything is it's giving you back your time.
Yes.
Time that has been stolen from you for years. It's giving it back to you. And now it's up to you to decide what you do with that time. Make the most of it. Right? Don't doom scroll for the next 50 minutes because you figured out something that should have took you an hour and 10 minutes. Take that next 50 minutes and go read a book, go work out, go spend time with your family. Like it's truly giving you back your time. And as educators, we always have that. It's one more thing on our plate. This job takes so much of my time. Use the technology to get your time back. So,
Mhm.
my next question for you, because I think a lot of people struggle with this in education as teachers, like, where do I even start? And so, what is this like the simplest way that you would tell them to just start with student engagement?
Yeah, I think this is what, for me, what would work the best. If I'm walking in tomorrow as a teacher, and tomorrow, for the sake of our podcast, is Friday. If I'm walking in on a Friday, as a matter of fact, I just posted this morning a fun Friday activity and it's not content. So one thing that people get really crossed is I have a lot of teachers who are like, well, I don't have time for games. Games are wasted time. And then I tell them, I'm very honest. I'm like, listen, my data wasn't the highest because I was the best teacher. My data was the highest because my kids enjoyed coming to my classroom and I found a way to hook them that probably better teachers just didn't think of. And one of those things is relationship building activities, as cliche as it sounds. If you were to come into a classroom on a Friday, say you were to come into my classroom, like what can I do, right? To answer your question. How about come in, kids normally come in, they get their stuff, they sit down, they're working on their warm up. You got the jazz music and the lamp lights on, none of the lights above, stressing everybody out. Then you go through your warm up, everything's normal. Then all of a sudden you take 10, 15 minutes tops, 10 minutes, man, and you play an activity that you stole from another teacher off of Insta. I told you, go to my page at Mr.
Mhm.
Alsheimer, steal one, take one. and spend 10 minutes playing a game that to the kids seems like it's not related to content at all. Not to mention, you could take those games and all ChatGPT them into how to use them for content. I've done this.
Yeah.
But that 10 minutes is going to pull kids in. Now all of a sudden what you're going to start to hear, like when you have kids playing head, shoulders, knees, color, or this, that, or the partner duck toss, all these different things are going to be like, whoa, can we do that again tomorrow? Nah, but we'll do something else. And here's the truth. You start to sprinkle these in as often as you can. 10 minutes, 15 minutes here on a day where you know I got a boring lesson, but we're going to do
Yeah.
this. And then the boring lesson comes, but they're still kind of into it because there's something different about Miss Wilson's class this year. Like, I like this one. And then you have your other engaging things too. And then you're doing that. So you're using the relationship building games to get kids smiling and laughing. And here's the truth. I don't love talking about research that much, but here's the truth about research. Scientists and doctors that are way smarter than the both of us, probably at Harvard and stuff, right? So if you want to fact check me, go to harvardandstuff.com. I'm sure you can find it. But when you get kids up and moving, we all know this research, right? When you get kids up and moving, their brain retains stimuli differently. That's the one most people know. But what most people don't know is this one. When you get kids to elicit emotion, even for just a moment, smiling, laughter, shock, awe, even
Yeah.
sadness over the story, whatever. When you get kids to elicit emotion, their brains are hardwired to interact differently with their peers. And they're like, the statistics climb. It's insane, but it's different at each level. Even in high school, it's like crazy high on how on better better verbal interactions with their peers. And so what you're doing is you're setting the stage for kids to feel comfortable in a classroom where not everybody looks the same. We're not the same. We don't have to go to the same church. Some go to church, some don't. Some like the Giants, some like the Cowboys. Like, we can't get along, right? But when you do this, it breaks down all barriers so that kids feel safe, they feel welcome, they feel accepted, and then the learning is a little bit different. So that's I would say start there first.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing when you do those foundational work, the learning just happens. You don't even have to be as implicit and intentional about the learning because it just happens at that point, right? And so, one thing that you mentioned too, I think is cool. Like, when to start, take the one lesson or the one topic that you don't enjoy teaching, or that's really hard for you to get out, and start there. Use all the research that you mentioned and start there. And then all of a sudden, that one topic is interesting. It does become exciting for both you and the students. So, the next question for you is, what mistakes do you see educators and leaders making with student engagement right now?
Yeah. I would say this. I would say that I work with leadership teams quite a bit. I do instructional coaching and teacher coaching quite a bit. And I do a lot of observational rounds. And what I see often is kids sitting. Kids are sitting and they're working on a worksheet, or they're sitting and they're reading out of the textbook. And that's the biggest problem. Can you imagine, like, think about the ripple effect of that if you're a school leader listening, or even a teacher. When your kids are sitting all day long, at some point they're going to get bored, whether it's quickly or at the end of the day. And then what happens, man? Then all of a sudden discipline goes up. Now we're dealing with problems. And then as you're dealing with problems, then kids who are normally not a problem are going to become a problem. Or the kids that aren't the problem at all can't focus because there's too many problems and chaos happening. And so the simple idea of just finding ways to, as we've mentioned many times already over the course of this podcast, to get kids up and moving, to turn a worksheet into an activity. That simple piece right there is going to alleviate engagement in general, is going to alleviate a lot of things. It's number one, it's going to make the relationship piece click for teachers and students and students and students. It's going to bring joy back into teaching. I always say this with teachers, man. You either are going to go home stressed out and exhausted because you've been fighting it all day long, or you're going to go home stressed out, probably more so in a good way, and exhausted because you had an awesome day. It's going to happen one way or the other. You got to choose your heart. I would rather leave exhausted knowing we just had an awesome day than leave fighting fire after fire. I'm not a fireman. I'm not doing that. So
Yes.
that's the thing. And
Yeah.
if we can get kids to be more locked in, and again, we've shared tons of ways to make this happen. And that's the biggest problem. And then here's the piece from the leadership standpoint. The biggest problem for leaders is this: leaders listening, we need to have a standard set in our school. What's the standard for your classroom? When I walk into a
Yeah.
classroom,
It's
what
good.
should I be seeing? For me, I have a game plan. Every single leader should have a game plan standard written out. You expect your students to have a lesson plan. You as the leader better have a lesson plan for your staff, meaning this, when I walk in, I want to see maybe a warm up, whether that warm up is a written thing or they're doing 3 questions or it's a Q&A with the teacher. Then I want to see a quick review piece. I want you to verbally review the things that you did. If it's math, 1 question from the day or week before. Then what's your hook for the new stuff? Then it's this, then it's this, then it's this. But it's there and teachers know what to expect. I should never walk into a classroom and go, hey, do you know what your leader's expectation is for you in teaching in terms of a lesson? And then they only say this, well, we put the objectives up on the board. Dude, nobody cares about that. The kids aren't
Nobody
reading it.
cares. No
Nobody
way.
cares. I always tell the teachers, man, the first couple minutes of class, those objectives are there for the box to check for the admin or the superintendent or the state. They're there in my classroom, but I will tell the students today, the 2 things I want you to walk out here with are, and then I will tell them,
Yep.
even though it's right there, I tell them, and then
Make
I
it clear.
revisit it at the end. And guess what? That would be part of my standard for my teachers. And that is another big problem because I'll do observational rounds with leadership and we do it all the time. And then leaders are like, man, that was the engagement just wasn't there. And then I'll ask them, how do you impact that? And then they never have an answer for that. They go, well, we do a PD on, no, don't give it to somebody else. What are you doing? And then here's my solution to that in a long winded response is that the other part of my book, School of Engagement, is how leaders should facilitate the sharing of ideas for staff. Don't tell your staff, go on social media and figure it out. You take the
Yes.
reins, and as you do observational rounds, and if you're a leader listening, hand it to your instructional coach or your assistants, right? Or even a teacher leader. And as they do observational rounds, it's not to like write up stuff for staff, it's to take pictures and videos of what's good that's happening and then I'm going to go back to that teacher and I'm going to ask, hey, how did you do that? Like, what would you call that? Oh, I don't have a name.
Hmm.
Well, what would you call it? If you could give it a name and then give me a 5-step how to. Then they give you a 5-step how to. First, I had my kids read a document. Then they highlighted for important words and dates. Then I put them in groups. And then this, then that. That person's writing it up. And then they create a living, breathing Google document or a PowerPoint that all teachers can reference. Every single time they see a lesson, you put the visual there, the title is there, and then the 5-step how to. And then, leaders, as we already talked about, brother, you tell your staff, A, you can steal it. B, you can go to the teacher who did it and ask them questions.
Yeah.
Or C, you can highlight the 5-step how to, throw it to ChatGPT and say, modify for 11th grade this and
That's
third
it.
grade that. Because some of my best lessons, I teach secondary. I stole from a pre-K and a kindergarten teacher. I just modified it for my level. A lot to
And
unpack there, but it's all there, man.
yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And I always would tell teachers in our building, your best resource is the teacher next door, or teacher down the hall. And so that's a prime example. Let's put everybody's resources into a bag of tricks here that we
Yes.
have, and we can all use it. We all see it. We don't have to hide it. I think as
No, because
educators,
everybody
we want to keep
knows.
it to ourselves.
Yeah, everybody knows the best PD's down the hall, but I ain't got time to
Yeah.
talk to that person, or I don't have planning time with science or third grade or fifth grade or 12. Where can I find it? Because I'm so burned out and I'm sitting in my office like I just need a minute to myself. It's right there now. It's right there for them for their minute by themselves. They're seeing the PD from down the hall on their screen, and you are giving that to them. And the leader gets to take the reins on which ones you put in there.
Yeah, I love that. You don't have to. You can't use the excuse I live under a rock and don't have social media. Boom, I'm giving it to you. So, man, I love this conversation. And so, my last question for you is coming, but it stems from something that you said about connecting with kids. And one of my biggest pet peeves in education is how we have so many teachers that are teaching using the same strategies that they did in 1995, 2005, 2015, even let's just say 2019 before the world shut down and education got flipped upside down. They're using those same strategies. So, how do you think this becomes norm? Because it should be norm. We are teaching kids in 2026. The kids sitting in our seats today look, breathe, behave nothing like the students from 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Well, I think how do we make what change in our teaching style become the norm? Is that
Yeah.
what you're
How do
asking?
we make student engagement the norm? Because it
Well,
needs to be.
yeah, it does need to be. I think that's the hard part. It's I don't there's no real great answer to that question because as much as I'll go around and I speak to schools and work with and do workshops with schools and things like
Yeah.
that, it's the same questions, right? Like, what's the hardest thing in school right now? It's behavior, it's attendance, it's engagement. And we all are experiencing the same things and we're all wondering what the answer is.
Yes.
And honestly, I truly believe the only universal way to answer that question is through what we just said. It's an acknowledgement that, okay, we can't use the same you can use some of the same things. I think there's always time for a worksheet or note cards or lecture. I used to lecture notes in my classes like 15 minutes every day to prep for the new assignment we're about to do, usually, unless we're continuing working on stuff. But I think we can still use pieces of this, but then at the same time, you have to adjust with the times. You cannot expect, I mean, let's just be real. We cannot expect kids to learn the same way 30 years ago now when the world, and I don't mean the world, I'm talking about like technology in their world. Their world is going home and jumping on YouTube and playing games, interactive stuff, and immediate, like nonstop stimulus.
Yeah, they're
We need
consuming.
to address that. So one of the things that I talk about a lot is ask some certain questions. Like, for example, to make it mainstream, like how can we get kids up and moving? How can we get kids creating something? How can we create this content and kind of gel it with student interests? So start to ask yourself those things and then the lesson planning becomes a little bit more simpler, but we have, again, it has to go back to us working together as a team and a staff. And I remember I was observing a science teacher and I went into her classroom and she goes, I'm sorry. She didn't know I was coming in on that day. She goes, I'm sorry. I just got this off TikTok. I've never used it before. And I was like, yes, I
Yeah.
don't care if it doesn't work at all. I love it because what she's doing is what is really the answer to your question is we need to start trying
Yes.
new things, and if it doesn't work, scrap it, and if it does work, throw it in our bag of tricks and continue to move forward.
Yeah, that's great. And I will add this to that, and we've already said it in this episode already, is if you are already doing these things, own your greatness. Don't keep it to yourself. Ask your principal, can I share this at our next meeting? I did this engaging lesson. It worked really well, and I want to share it with the rest of the staff. Share it on your social media. So you don't have to be an influencer to start sharing ideas. And so just stand up, own your greatness, and say, I'm going to share this out. So thank you for diving into student engagement. I really appreciate that. As we wrap this up, I like to end with a couple questions, and you've given a ton of advice to educators in reference to student engagement and what that looks like. But what is just a general piece of advice that you could give to educators who are doing this work today on a daily basis?
I think I'm going to end it. I think I'm going to answer that question with just more of a my feelings on this, and that's this. Just if you're listening, just realize this that I saw a quote once upon a time, and it gels with and it gels with something that I've said since like my second year, and that's it only takes one good teacher. And then I saw a quote that took it a step further, and I loved it, and it was. It only takes one good teacher to change a way a kid will walk into every room for the rest of their life. And that goes back to our conversation earlier on teach like it's your kid in the front row is all it takes is someone to walk into the school building and understand that this is an opportunity. It's not I have to do something. You don't have to work in a school. Go work in Walmart if you want to. I don't care. Like you get to work in a school. I don't have to
Yes.
mow my grass. I get to mow my grass because I have a awesome house. I don't have to go fill my car up with gas. I get to because I got a car, thank God.
Yep.
And so if we start looking at our profession like that, I get to go into a school and I get to meet kids where they are in the hallway, and I get to smile and laugh with them, and I get to the kid who doesn't wanna talk to me, who I don't even teach, I get to try and make that kid smile, take it as a
Yeah.
challenge. I get to be a
Yeah.
part of something greater. I get to make a difference. I had someone one time very close to me who makes a lot of money. He was an engineer, and he said, "I'm jealous of you." And at the time, this is many, many years ago, and I
Yeah.
was, I was like, "Why?" I got nothing. You got living
Yeah,
this
it's you're
mansion,
living
right?
that first year teacher
D
salary, yeah.
Dude, like, that the first time I opened my paycheck, I looked at my wife, I said, "I'm sorry," right? So and I was like, "Why, man?" And he goes and this is what he said to me, so I want people to listen to this, really digest it. He said, "Because at the end of my life, as much money as he had in the big house and all stuff," he goes, does anything I do matter? Because as soon as it's over, like, does it no one gonna remember me in 20 years." He said, "You're gonna have kids talk about you in memories of your classroom, the kids you teach and the kids you don't, the things that happen in the hallway, the
Uh,
mayonnaise you ate at the end of class, or the random game you played. They're going to talk about those moments later, and your legacy is in those moments. And like I said, all it takes is one good teacher. So be that teacher that understands your legacy and takes hold of that opportunity to make a difference in the hearts and minds of kids everywhere.
Man, that's powerful. This whole conversation has been powerful. I knew it was going to be, and it's been so good. So thank you, man. Thank you again for sharing your story and just your heart and your passion for this work. I know all of our listeners are just going to be blown away. They're going to be taking notes the whole time. But also, I'm sure most of them are already follow you and your work and have read your book and all that. But just in case, if anyone is listening and they're like, "Man, who is this guy? Like, he's cool." How can they connect with you?
Thanks, man. I'm at Mr. Alsheimer on TikTok, on X, on Instagram. I love Instagram to share stuff. So hit me up, comment so I know you're not a bot and a teacher and I can follow you back. School of Engagement and Next Level Teaching are on Amazon, and my website is jonathanalsheimer.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on this episode. Thank you for you now officially a part of the school life community. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all of our listeners for joining in again. And we hope that you took a lot from this episode because there's so much here. You may have to listen to it 2 or 3 times, but share it out, share with your teacher friends because they need to hear it as well. As always, if there's a guest you want on here, if there's a topic you need us to cover, let me know. But until next time, keep doing the work. Keep choosing positivity and be great today.
That's right. God bless.